Hey friends, it's me, your pal Kelly Zemnikas and Leonard Cohen. This is episode number 31 of It'll Be Fine, the now socially distant baking food chat show thing. On today's episode is just one of my favorite guys. He's so funny and just a dude I just dig. I really like him. Mark McNally is on the show today, and we're going to be talking food and cruise ships and television shows and cassette tapes and all sorts of things. It's you're in for a good little chat here today. So grab a coffee, sit down. We're talking food on today's It'll Be Fine. And just a reminder, if you look down there into the show description section, we've got a link there if you are able to support. I know times are tough and we're all having a rough go making ends meet, but if you're able to give some love and a few dollars, whatever you can, to the Johnny Mac Foundation, oh, they would really appreciate it. So if you can, that would be awesome. Enjoy the show, friends. Wash your hands and enjoy this chat. Sit right back on a do. I don't know the song lyrics. It's Gilligan's Island. By the way, guys, the internet connection on this episode's a bit choppy, but it's just the way of the world. Just so you know.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
How the heck are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Kelly?
I am doing all right. This is episode number 31 of It'll Be Fine.
Wow. 31. That's amazing. Which, by the way, I love the name of this. That works for any podcast in the world, but for one that's specifically meant for cooking, I think it's spot on.
Thank you very much. It was an idea born when I got together with friends of ours, comedian friends of ours, Janice Israeloff and Lisa Feingold. They were over. Yeah, they're amazing people. We were baking a cake and it wasn't really going well, and I kept muttering, "It'll be fine." And I was like, that's a really good name for a show.
Yeah, for any show across the board.
I'll just brand it, like chains.
Yeah, it'll be fine kitchen. It'll be fine green room for when we're backstage at comedy shows. It all works.
Exactly. Yeah, it's my new philosophy. It's probably going to be my next tattoo when I go out and get a tattoo.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're all able to get those again.
Exactly. So for friends at home watching, this is Mark McNally. We've got a lot in
friends.
common. Yeah. Mark and I've got.
We do, actually.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out the talking is the fun part of it.
We'll get there. It'll be fine.
Exactly. I have to say, every time my parents say it'll be fine, they like to message me and say, "Hey, we just said it'll be fine and we thought of you."
That's why I should start my podcast that I want to call Poop Tongue. So every time my dad, for some reason, says poop tongue, he can give me that text message.
Done. That will happen. But
Awesome.
we've got a fair bit in common with the comedy background, TV production background, and food as well. Oh, Mark froze. There we go.
Yeah, I figured that would be the case. I'll let you know right now, my internet's been super choppy. I think most people's have, just because everybody's on the internet right now, of course.
Exactly. Well,
but yeah, I'm like Kelly said, my background is in television. I'm a lighting technician for TV shows. I'm a member in good standing, or at least I was at the beginning of the year, with IATSE 873, which is the technical union here in Toronto. And I was supposed to start on a little show called Titans on March 30th, their third season, which is it starts airing on DC's channel that they have, their little app. And then it comes over onto Netflix, Canada and internationally, usually a couple months later. So we were supposed to be hard at work on that, but that fell through. And then comedy wise, yeah, I was just thinking of this. I don't remember the first show that we were on together. I don't know when we first met. I'm usually pretty good about remembering when I met people, but when we first started really bonding was you hosted Comedy Appetizer, Mike Payne's show when it was still at Remarkable Bean.
Yeah, this great
you hosted it
on Queen East.
It's a beautiful place. It's really good. The show doesn't go on there anymore, but you host it. You did an amazing job, and I bombed about as hard as I had in a long time. Really, really bad. And I had just bought this camera so I could record all my sets, and that was one of the first sets that I recorded. And I remember thinking, like, I might not ever watch that again because I know how bad it went. And then I went home immediately and watched it and had a lot of fun just tearing myself to shreds. But I do recall us having our first kind of mini conversation, and then that led to a road trip not too far after that.
Yeah, and then we bonded over Apocalypse, this great pizza shop in
That's
Toronto.
right.
Yeah, it is.
Which is down the street from my house. It's right at Christie Pitts. And I always saw it, but being one of those, I wasn't anti-vegan, but I didn't know what to think. And I just thought there's not going to be anything there for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you kept going on about the Fat Mac, which I'll be honest, since the one time we've got that, if I'm ever walking by that place and I'm like the slightest bit hungry, 100% I'm buying a slice of Fat Mac.
Yay!
So I appreciate you converting me. But your reasoning around it was so good. You go, with these road trips, I like to add in a food pilgrimage. So you and I are going to Apocalypse now. And I was like, okay, yep, I can't say no.
You can't say no. I mean, even now, just mentioning pizza, that is one very Pavlovian thing for me. Like, someone says pizza, and now I've said it 3 times. I'm going to be having pizza at some point today.
I don't blame you.
Yeah, I got to do it, man. So
that's pizza's kind of one for me, but burgers more than anything else. If you mention a specific burger place that I like, that will not leave my head, and I'm usually pretty determined. What
is your favorite burger shop in Toronto? Or do you have one or two?
This is not specifically burgers, but their burgers are amazing. It's actually not far from where I live either. Tallboys. They're very specifically a craft beer place, but they have a whole page of burgers. Every burger is 2 patties unless you ask otherwise. You're always getting a double no matter what, so it's good bang for your buck. The one that I love is called a Smoky Blue, and it has, I think you know where it's going. It's got a really smoky barbecue sauce, which is one of my go-tos always. I'm a big sauce fan. We can get into that later. Caramelized onions, really good bacon, and then they put blue cheese on it, but I'm not a big blue cheese guy, so I always get them to throw cheddar on it.
Okay, I gotta say, blue cheese on a burger, it's really good, I think. I'm on team blue cheese.
And I appreciate that you think that. I used to work at a place, well, we'll go into more of my working stuff soon, but I used to work at a place that made a blue cheese burger. And I tried it a couple times and just didn't, I don't know, the smelly cheeses aren't for me. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's not my go-to cheese. I do really enjoy like a smoked Gouda, or maybe like a harder, sharper cheese. But blue cheese in a burger, I think I tried it once at Holy Chuck, which is a great burger joint that I've got near me here in Midtown Toronto. And ordering in much? Are you doing any takeout delivery stuff? All the cities shut down?
Again, I have my like 3 places that I go in my area that I just always go to. And the one that's really close and they've been good about delivery and pickup has been Thai Room on Bloor. So Thai Room is kind of where I've been out lately, but for the most part, I've really been, because that's it too. When you're working on set, everything food-wise is provided. You have a craft table that depending on the show you're on, is always fully stocked and always has something on it. There's a craft truck just outside that if you want to, you can go make something or get them to make you something if you kiss up to them really nicely. And then at lunchtime, they cater for us. And actually on the shows I've been working on lately, in the morning you can get breakfast from the catering company, whatever you want breakfast-wise, usually whatever you want. And then in the afternoon, they've made lunch for you. And I usually get a plate. I fill that up. I might take seconds on that plate, and then I grab a to-go container, and I fill up what ends up being my dinner for the night. So all last year, pretty much from May until October, I didn't spend a dime on groceries unless I wanted something for Sunday dinner.
That's a very true point. Like my TV background, was as a production coordinator. So I would be the one scheduling maybe someone like yourself and doing trailers and doing travel. I did that for many years. And I've gone back since to TV shows in more of a writing capacity, which is great because I still get to enjoy those wonderful craft service tables. And you got like blindingly long hours. And I always find that on a show, I really have to amp up the workouts because some of those food choices are not the great.
See, and that's my problem is I don't change the workout routine during the year mostly. Yeah. I've gotten better in the last couple of weeks just because like, well, I guess I'll go for a run or I guess I'll throw on this yoga video on YouTube. You know what I mean? Like I just do whatever I can.
I gotta say, I'm working out 6 days a week now. I plan on coming out of this just effing ripped.
Kelly Buff. That's what I'm going to call you, Kelly Buff. That's awesome. No, that's good. I'm never the one to take a photo with my shirt off, but I got out of the shower and looked in the mirror and I was like, we're closer. We're closer. This is not a bad start. Like this is where you start working to make it look like you want it to look. But
oh my gosh, we should start like a charity thing. Of like comedians, like a calendar. That would be funny.
That'd be good. I used to work on cruise ships, and I've heard of good stories of the whole crew putting together like a really funny calendar and selling it for whatever kind of charity. Yeah. But the best one I heard about was the whole photo team did a nude shoot, which like wasn't really what they were supposed to do, but they're like, we can figure this out. And so each one of them is either holding some sort of like thing to bounce the light or some sort of meter or something covering everybody else's bits. One of them was standing like perfectly in front of two bushes covering them. And they took this photo around all of the passengers that were on the beach, all of the crew members, all of the people that were off the ship basically could see them. But they were like, it's for business. We got to do it for work. So
now, go ahead. I was going to say, what was the food situation like on a cruise ship?
A mixed bag.
So,
if you're for passengers, obviously it's like there's something open 24/7. You can get food all the time. For crew, we're separated into 3 groups. There's crew, there's staff, and there's officers. Crew are the people who clean bedrooms, washing dishes, cooking, etc. There's a lot of them, and they're mainly Filipino, Indian, a little Indonesian, but that's most of them. Staff is what I was, which are people that have, I guess the word for it that they always used was front of house. So like we were the photo department, the spa, the shops. We had our own mess, which was a little nicer, but it had specific hours. And then there's the officer's mess, which is like you get wine brought to your table immediately. Like it's where all obviously the officers and the higher ups on the ship eat. The certain ships would have that you could order nicer stuff or get stuff off the passenger menu depending on what day and time it was. And for staff members like me, we had deck privileges. So we could go up into passenger areas in uniform with our name tags on, but outside of work. And so I was one of those people that took advantage of that I would go eat up. It was nice on the one ship we had afternoon tea. And so it's like little sandwiches. If you've ever been to a good afternoon tea, it's like sandwiches, cookies, chips. I owned afternoon tea on the Sun Princess. I would go up with my big bottle of sweet chili sauce every day, and I would go to town to the point where passengers would come up to me and ask to borrow some of my sweet chili sauce. Because we're crew, we're not allowed to bring food down to our cabins, but nobody said anything about napkins can't leave. So we would just take whatever bread, food, cookies, stuff it into napkins, throw them in our pockets, go down to our room, throw them in our fridge. And then you just throw the napkins outside of a passenger's room because somebody will pick it up.
Oh, yeah.
There were so many weird loopholes. Like, I think the best was, because I said that, you know, there's a lot of Filipinos on board. Like 60% of all people that work on ships, not just cruise ships, but ships, are Filipino.
Okay. Okay.
So Filipino Mafia is a legitimate thing on cruise ships. But occasionally you get pockets of other mafias, and I was really good with Mexican Mafia on one ship. And that was that, like, if I won't ever work on a cruise ship again, I don't think. But if I do, immediately I'm finding all of the Mexican guys and going, what's up? Who's in the kitchen? Let's do this. So we used to get like late night burgers. We had one night where the guy's like, do you guys want burgers? Do you want fries? And he goes, what do you want to drink? And we'd love to keep the party going. All of a sudden, a bottle of Johnny Walker Black comes down. And we're like, oh, awesome. And then they're like, yeah, your bill's like $250. Because you forget that you're still paying them. You're just not paying them through the ship.
Did you ever do stand up on a cruise ship? Were you doing stand up at the time that you were?
No,
working?
I was a videographer. So like I said, I worked through the photo department, but I got to know a lot of the comics that would come on board because I was so interested. I wanted to start doing comedy when I was 18.
Cool.
I was a big George Carlin fan, and that was my reason for wanting to get into it. And I don't know if I never really did anything before ships, but when I got on ships, there started to be more opportunities to get on stage, whether it was karaoke or eventually I started running the crew club and would put on events for all the crew. And I would be the one announcing trivia and all that kind of stuff. And just holding the mic and being on stage, I felt like, I like this. I'd like to pursue this more. And so I got home and did one show through friends of mine, and it's like the one I was like, well, I do this now. Like I didn't say I was a comic, but I was like, I do stand up comedy now.
Yeah.
I don't know. The guys on cruise ships have a bad rap through other comics. Like there's always the joke about them being Bodaks, or that's the only place they can make money and stuff like that, which isn't true. There was a lot of comics that came on. Like I worked with, I can't remember his name, but he played Raven Simone's dad in That's So Raven.
Oh, I don't know.
And you've just frozen, so I don't know. There we go. There we go.
I don't know.
A little bit better. Yeah, so I think it was a Disney show. It's Raven Simone was the little girl that was on the Cosby Show like 30 years ago. There you go. You can Google it. But anyway, so the dad that was on it, he was also a director. And so we got into talking about that, and he said, like, I can't get jobs directing right now. There's no multi-camera sitcoms anymore. The Office and Parks and Rec have really destroyed that. Because they all went to the single camera, very film style, still comedy, but more of a film style shoot. Go for it.
Is it Orlando Brown?
Yes.
Okay.
That would make sense. Yeah. But yeah, he just talked to me about how, like, the TV networks are completely changing and don't know what's going to come with them, and what, this is before Netflix and Apple TV and all that other stuff. Yeah. But even then they were like, we don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we can do next and how long this is going to keep, because they knew it was coming. They knew a whole switch was coming. People weren't watching TV as much. Movies were starting to lose, big audiences and whatnot. And so it was really interesting to talk to him and discussing with guys like him about, if I want to do stand-up when I get home, what's my move and what should I do? And it's all the same advice: write 5 minutes, write clean 5 minutes, and then get to open mics. And it's the simplest. I think the one thing that somebody said to me that makes the most sense that I try and say to everyone is, go to comedy shows, go to pro comedy shows, go to open mic ones, and really take notes of, why is this guy headlining? And why is this person only doing 5 minutes on a show with nobody I've ever heard of? Yeah. And try and see the difference between them, and try and pick out the ones that in that open mic are going to be on that pro show soon.
Exactly.
And I think the one other thing is just be polite and introduce yourself to people. Cause I found that was always, be nice and be funny. Like that's really the easiest information to give people.
Absolutely.
But some people choose one or the other, I find.
It is true. And one thing about the world we're living in now, speaking of kindness, I'm noticing this kindness factor just like living on social media, which I am loving because it can be such a toxic place and we can be so judgmental of each other. And I'm really really grateful to see people treat grocery stores a bit more, their restaurant workers a bit more, because like we work that work. I still do. I mean, I don't at the moment. I'm not hosting at the restaurant. But I wish every single person would do a bit of time in a service industry job just to see how we talk to each other. It blows my mind.
It's so crazy. And especially like, I think of working on cruise ships and how much customer service training I got through that, and how, you know, you do a cruise with Australian passengers and they don't even know what they want. They're just happy to be there. And then you go to these American passengers and it's like to the letter, they know exactly what they want. And at first I was like, God, they're so picky and so rude. But then it's like, no, they know exactly what they want. They're actually making your job easier. You just need to read between the lines. They're not being mean. They're just being direct. And to what you said about people online being nicer and kinder and everything like that, I think the coolest thing I've seen is a lot of places giving out free lessons for stuff or cheaper lessons or trying to make things more accessible to people because people don't have anything to do right now. Yeah. And even like bands and stuff that I like, they've gone, we weren't going to put this out for another 2 months, but forget it. Here's all our videos that we're going to put out over the next couple months because you guys need something now. So it's nice to see people go like, everybody needs this. Let's give it to them. Mm-hmm. And less people going, let's just take everything.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I really hope when we do see the light at the end of this tunnel, which will come when it comes, but I hope that continues on because James Corden said it a couple nights ago on his show. I'm further away from folks like yourself, from my family, from a lot of people than I've ever been, but I feel much more connected to people than I had previously because there was always like, oh, let's do it. Oh, my schedule is jammed, can't do it. Never making use of this, which has always been there. I could easily make a friend, but it was just like, man, not going to do it. But I love that we're engaging this way and we're talking food and we're, you know, it brings you a sense of normalcy right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because
especially with like I live on my own, and so aside from the people upstairs who I see in passing, and we're still trying to be distant from each other and whatnot, you know, it's this or the occasional phone call that I really have any connection with anyone. And so this has been really nice. And you're right. I hope that people go, yeah, we can do it. And even if they do, like the big thing is like everybody's doing these 40-minute, hour-long Zoom calls. These can go 5 minutes. It can literally be, hey, I wanted to see that you're still alive. How are you doing? Great that you're okay. Let's talk again in 5 days. You know, whatever. So,
yeah. Is there anything you're really like gravitating towards food-wise right now? Are you making one thing like more often than usual to give you comfort?
I just upped my club soda. I haven't drank since January 26th.
Nice.
And so, yeah, club soda has been like my big go-to. So yesterday, like every week or, you know, when I do my groceries, I come back, I have my club soda and I have my limes. And then I have to sit there cutting the limes every time I want one. Yesterday, I went to town. It's the only food prep I've done in like a month. It's just cutting all my limes so I can just pull the Tupperware out, squeeze it in, pour the drink in, we're good to go. But I've been trying to grill more. We have a barbecue out back, and I'm the only one that ever uses it. It's open year round mostly. Okay. Like I'm the one. Like I'll use it if it was snowing right now, I'd still be using it. Like I'm that kind of griller. I love using the grill. But I mean, especially because the last 2 years I've been stuck on set, and haven't had time. I like I said, Sundays I might do a steak for myself or the occasional burgers or whatever.
Yeah.
This past, whatever it's been, month, I think I've grilled burgers like 5 or 6 times. I did chicken last night.
Nice.
I know I'm going to do steaks at some point. So it's, the grilling thing has come back, and that's always been one of my favorite. My dad and I started bonding with grilling years and years ago when I was in my teens. And so it's always something I like doing. And even when I say that to my extent, they're like, oh, you're just like your dad, barbecuing 365. And I was like, it's 366 last year, guys. Don't forget that. I got an extra day of grilling in last year.
I did so much.
I guess that's this year.
Yeah. Just day. There's no
It's
like
all
day.
There's day, and then when I sleep for a bit.
I did so much grilling during the blackout in what was that, like 2003 or
2003. Yeah.
Yeah, so much grilling. Oh my God, it was the best.
Yeah, that was good. I took that night, we had leftover spaghetti in the fridge. So we grilled whatever meat we had, and then we took that spaghetti, put it on a pot on the grill, and stirred it as quickly as we could to get as much heat as we could. Because we couldn't microwave it, we couldn't do it in the oven. We did that. The pot was done. Like after that pot had to go in the garbage. But we got a little spaghetti with our chicken and steak and all the other stuff that we had. So
that's so funny. I remember when the power went out, I was watching Dr. Phil. I was at my apartment, not too far from where I live now. And my first thought was like, oh, there's no power. I'll make a cup of tea. Because, I've got British roots. I'm like, my go-to in conflict, tea. I make
no oven. No
oh,
tea.
well.
I was at Canada's Wonderland that day. We were waiting in line for a slide, and we honestly were standing on this one stair for like 40 minutes. And I was like, I don't want to go on the ride this much. Let's get out of here. And I was with my girlfriend at the time, her sister, and my little sister. They were the same age. And so they're all furious at me that I'm cutting it short. And we get down, and we can see like people like pushing to get out. And I go over to a Coke machine, and I start trying to put toonies in, and they just keep coming out. And then somebody at Wonderland comes up to me and is like, the power's out. It's not going to work. I'm like, all right, I'll find another one. They're like, no, look, the world's power is out. And so I just look at my sister and my girlfriend and her friend, and I'm like, we're going home.
Yeah. Oh, man, I'm just thinking of the people who are like on the top of the tallest roller coaster.
Dad was away at the time.
Oh, my God.
Oh, that would have been – I think that was one of the big issues they were having. I think that was one of the big issues they were having was they had to bring all the roller coasters back down to a spot where they could get people off. And that's why, like, it was taking people were taking forever to get out of there. And then, like I said, we were in traffic for like 4 hours getting back. And I just remember it when I got home. I was like, this has been the longest day, and I still now have to deal with not having electricity. Although where I was in Burlington, we had it back up pretty quickly. We had it back up within, I think it was 5 or 6 hours. We had it back by that night, basically, or parts of Burlington it back up by that night.
Yeah, I got to show you something that saved my bacon during the blackout. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
Dude.
Oh, wow. I had Walkmans a lot when I was a kid. I never had.
This was my only.
I never had one.
Radio.
I never had one I never had the Walkman for tapes. I had a Walkman for the CD players when those eventually came out. Look at that, though.
Yeah.
Holy cow. That's an artifact.
This was the only way I knew in my building to tell people, because we all thought it was like a local thing. We didn't know what was happening. And I could get 680 News, Toronto radio on here. And I was like, no, guys, like I was like the information hub of my building with this thing.
That's so crazy. That's funny, though. Man, Yeah, I remember being very stressed that day, very chaotic day.
It was wild. My dad came
I
out of
remember.
cancer surgery that day. They were wheeling him out of the OR. They had just taken out
Whoa.
they had just taken out the tumor, and he was being wheeled out of like the operating room. The power went down for a second and then powered back up.
Because they have generators.
Yeah, never gonna forget that day.
Wow.
My dad's in good health and he's
That's
doing well, but never gonna forget that day.
good. Glad to hear that.
Yeah. A good thing to do. Another good tip that I've come to do is cooking my vegetables, but then freezing them so I can use them later.
That's a good idea. Yeah, that's really good.
Because like you may have stuff in your fridge that maybe you're not jonesing for right now, but just cook it, put it in the freezer. Like you can do like a good pie crust or a good bread dough, stick it in the freezer, use it for later. So
True.
yeah, I'm on team freezer.
I really like. That's a good call. I really like grilled vegetables. You know, if I do them and then the little bit left over that I have the next day, putting them in a salad,
Yeah.
that's the best. I really love grilled vegetables and like spinach or like a good mix of different leaves. Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining me today. This was a good food talk, and now I like really want a burger and pizza. A pizza burger.
There you go.
Just
Pizza. That's a good one. Fat Mac. There you go.
that'll be awesome.
I can't believe how quickly this went.
It flew by, and we must
It flies by, yeah.
we must do this again. And I can't wait to see you again, man. And I'll put up your socials so people can find you on social media.
Please do. I love that.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll see each other again in person soon and be telling jokes again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kelly. I really appreciate you having me on. And thanks, everyone. Enjoy and safe cooking.
Fun. Take care.
Take care.
Bye. Thanks, Mark.
No worries.